Heidi runs Changemaker Teens. She's a home educating mum of two teenage boys, and she's been home educating for 8 years. And I know from previous conversations that that has been a wonderful journey for her, and seeing and releasing the freedom into their lives and all that they want to explore and to do. And she really is on a mission, and her goal is to release young people and teenagers into the passions and the exciting journeys that they have, and see teenagers transformed. So for those teenagers who are lost and don't know how to learn, don't really know what they want to do, or are struggling with some of those mental health challenges, her passion is to turn those around and help them become joyful teens who are prepared for their future and ready to step into the world. So if you want to learn more about the Changemaker Way, you can click onto her website. All the information is there on the Learn Free bios. And for now, I'm going to tag team with you, pass over, and we look forward to hearing you speak, Heidi. Thank you.
Thank you. This is like a wonderful reunion, seeing some of you again. It's so lovely. So I'll be around around the conference, so we hope to catch up in other sessions. I'm going to share my screen now. I hope I can find it again. We had this practice, so there we go. And all right. So let me move you all there so I can see you all, and I'm speaking with real people. So yeah, raising Changemaker teens. So thank you, Joe, for that lovely introduction, and seeing you all again. What I do absolutely focus a lot with teenagers and help them with the Changemaker way to find their way. And I also help mothers become the coach. My absolute mission is, well, it's threefold, to help basically make myself redundant as the coach, because I want to give all of these coaching skills and strategies to mothers so that they can use them with their own teenagers and potentially become one of our Changemaker coaches as well, and help coach other mothers and teenagers as well. So there is a long-term vision of having you as mothers join our team, so you've got a little income from home as well, coaching mothers and teens once you go through the program. So, but first today we're at Learn Free again. Wow, those years go fast, and all the memories have come up on my Facebook from previous years, 1 year ago, 2 years ago. So yeah, it was wonderful meeting Juliet a few years ago, and then being involved in your home educating conference, so educator conference. So I start with this one. You've probably actually this, let me have a look. We'll get into flow shortly. This is what you're here for. Well, I hope you just didn't see my name and come on board, that you actually saw the topic and you're here for because you want to know about the topic too. The duality of parental communication, encouragement versus control. So we're going to discover the impact of mixed messages that we might even give our teenagers unconsciously and just not aware, because we're meaning to do well. We say these things out of love, dear child. Don't you know we love you? And yet it's totally a contradictory message to what we might have said that they could do earlier, or, the encouragement we might have given them earlier. So there's this dual communication between encouraging and yet controlling. And when I see on many teenage Facebook pages that I'm on, whether they're home educating or not, the issues that I see come up, I'm thinking this could just be dealt with simply and easily, with ease. That's what we do here at Raising Changemakers Teens. We home educate and we raise our teenagers with ease. Is that even possible? Well, yes, it is. We go through tricky times, but you can still go through tricky times with ease. So we'll go back a bit to these slides then, because the temptation is, and the strength we need is to not give advice. As your teenagers exploring and discovering, and we're wanting them to be all they can be and they're discovering themselves, that we end up giving advice rather than holding the space and listening. So because I've only got 45 minutes or so and then maybe a few questions, I'm not going to read all of these slides, and the whole slide kit, Joe, if you could help me later to tell me where I can put them so everyone can download these as well. So it's all for you, no problems. So that's the, you know, we love them so much, as I was saying, and we want to give advice. So the connection between you and your family increases, reducing any feeling or likelihood of separation or animosity. Another outcome of not giving advice and instead of holding the space for your young person is that they can expand and their choices increase. Remember, we're raising adults and we want to raise happy, confident, encouraged, future-ready teenagers to become these adults. So we've got the opportunity. Why I love, doesn't matter how old my children get. I used to coach mothers of toddlers and, you know, as they were growing up, but it doesn't matter how old they get now. I'm sticking with the mothers of the teenagers, because the teenagers is when they're really forming their identity, you know, when they're really discovering who they are. So it's a beautiful time to feed into their character as well. So I'm known for, at these past events, for teaching and sharing skills on actually how to hold the space. So this slide is just a recap of what I've spoken about in past Learn Free conferences. So if this is the first year you've joined us, when I refer to holding space, or when you might have heard that with other speakers or so, this is my definition of holding space, you know, without judgments. Donate your ears and your heart without wanting anything in return. So it's not about us. It absolutely is accepting your teen, in this case, 100%. So when we hold that space for people, we open hearts and offer unconditional support. So that's kind of the two sides. We hold the space for them and being encouraging, or we offer advice, and not that advice is bad. This will all come into context as we go through. So suggestions, advice, it's when it starts contradicting, you know, that you're saying or they're saying and you're agreeing to what they can do, even though it may press buttons in you, but it's their life. Anyway, it will become clearer as I go through. So in order to discover the impact of missed messages in parenting and educating our teens, we first need to find out what is communication and have that reminder. I may have mentioned this before as well. But we give mixed messages not just in our words, because communication is only 7% words. All right, so it's only 7% words, 38% our tone of voice, and 55% body language. So our tone of voice, mums, and I'll focus mainly on mothers and educators here, because that's who I usually coach. Occasionally I do couples coaching. I've got, I was speaking with a mother I'm coaching today that the husband is saying, well, maybe I need to come and see Heidi too, and maybe we do a couple session. So, but in my language in this presentation, I'll mainly talk about mothers. Accepting and not agreeing is really important, and I'll again show in some strategies to not send mixed messages and this is a really good coaching skill. Remember, I said I want to teach mothers to become coaches, to accept what our teenagers may be saying, but may not necessarily agree. And I'll give you this bonus now, how we do that when they might be talking and it's pressing a button. And of course, unless it means, you know, there's a threat to their safety or so, but if it's just talking about an idea they have or something they might want to focus on, because when they get around, boys usually around 14, girls maybe a little bit earlier, depending, they may not be interested in any of the curriculum that you may have put in front of them before that, or any formal academic work. Of course, you've got your formal state tests that you need to study for. However, they may be less and less interested in that and more interested in their passions and more self-directed learning. And when they come up with something and you're going, oh, how's that going to get them to, have a job, a real job? I just heard from my medical insurance company that they may be increasing the age for a dependent child or dependent person in your family to the age of 31. Can you imagine? That a dependent young person is 31. That's not what we want. But you might be going, if they follow down this path, what they want, they may not ever leave home. So if we do this right and not give them mixed messages, they will, and hold the space for them, still be encouraging, they will find their way. So I've not only for my own teens, but definitely for many teens that I've been coaching, and they will find their way with these skills, and mothers I've helped and they've done it themselves. So to accept, the bonus I said I'd give you is when your teenager might say something, that you sort of catch it like a tennis ball, and instead of throwing it back to them and say, well, what about this? Or what about that? To accept it. And then there's like a basket beside them. Do you remember that I might have shared this with you in previous conferences? So to accept it and put it in the basket beside you and go, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Oh, okay, that's interesting. How do you think that will work? Remember your tone of voice. Really? How do you think that will work? I can hear the difference, the judgment in the tone of voice and the body language. Really? How do you think that will work? But tell me more about that. What are your thoughts on that? How will that, so you're accepting what they're saying. You may not be agreeing 100% or at all, but just accept and don't agree. You can always pick up what's in that basket later appropriately. And what I mean by appropriately is not with fear, will they end up doing, having a good job and being happy, confident, future ready, feeling encouraged. But will they end up like that, or from a place of fear or a place of love? So you can pick up things again and use it. Oh, I remember the other day when you said that. Is that what you were talking about? And you pick it up out of the basket. Anyway, we'll get to more strategies later. So we want to know who actually is our teenager, and with regard to raising changemaker teens, what is a changemaker teen? And basically every teen's a teenager. The one you've got at home, young person, I work with people from 12 to 25, young people. We're all change makers, including us being the change. So who is that? Well, we talk about being in alignment with what they desire, what they really want. Okay, so on all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, who am I and what do I desire? What would I want to achieve on a project or in my life? So that's them when they're solid, they're in alignment, they're discovering who they are, all of these steps, and that's messy. They're trying things on. Is this the kind of clothes that I want to wear? Is this how I want my hair? Is this, they're just trying things on what thoughts fit them. And it's in that time that we really want to hold the space for them and not send them those mixed messages. And we'll talk about the results of what happens when we do send mixed messages. So here's your chappie, or imagine a girl there too. There she is. So if I want to get into alignment, how do I prefer my mother or my parents to raise me to be my authentic self, to be the change maker I was born to be? Now, why do I talk about being your authentic self? Now, that means more to me than anything, and that's the way the world is going to change if we allow our young people, and isn't this why, or partly why, maybe your number one reason why, is why we're home educating in the first place. Because we want our kiddos to be themselves and not molded like little robots. Is that right? Yeah. I actually can't... with the way I've got it all displayed here, I can't see the chat. So if there is anything, we can leave them to the end or whatever. Yeah, there's too much happening on on my screen here. Great. So, yeah, so more than anything, for them to be their authentic selves in alignment with who they truly are. Now, what happens, we have been gifted these beautiful, beautiful babies, okay, where we bring them home in our arms and they are attached to us for everything, yeah? So there's an attachment that we make. And again, that's sometimes why young mothers are home educating, or if you are home educated right from the beginning and kept them at home, they've never been to a traditional school, there was this real attachment developed between the two of you. And what happens when they become the teenagers and moving, you know, growing up, we don't want them to stay attached to us, or do we? They don't want to stay attached to us, or do they? This is where, you know, when the toddler goes running ahead and then looks back to see where you are and just checks if they've gone too far or they can trust you being there. It's the same thing. I've got goosebumps. Goosebumps usually means not what I'm saying is correct, but somebody's thinking something that they might even have that memory or so. So whatever you're thinking, spot on, and then share it in the chat if it's appropriate. So yeah, so what happens when they're growing up to be teenagers, they're checking out, if I wear these clothes, or if I decide to do this, or, you know, my son Matthew decided not to do any curriculum anymore, but he'd been either side of what he was always learning was music, which was pretty much drums for him, and then keyboard. And then on this side, we did entrepreneurial and business courses. But in the middle, he told me when they first came home, he was 11. I said, if God, or you knew you were on the planet for a reason, and God gave you a purpose, what is it for? And they both told me. One was 8 and one was 11. They both told me straight away. And I said, okay, let's do that with our minds, ears, and eyes and hearts open. And we followed that track. You know, one wanted to design and manufacture a new car, so we learned about the Industrial Revolution. We did car shows and the merchandise for a car show. We looked at property. We looked at everything all around, you know, designing, manufacturing different cars and putting on car shows and all of that. Then when he turned 14, didn't want any more of that curriculum, and he just started teaching himself all sorts of musical instruments online himself. It was amazing. He taught himself guitar and bass and ukulele and banjo and all sorts of, you know, instruments. And I'm going, okay, that's fine, love, but it needs to mean something. So I didn't say, no, you've got to, this is what you said you're going to do. Why aren't you doing this? You know, it's like, that's great, and you're fabulous at it, and wow, you're teaching yourself. You know, the teacher, when we left school, she said, doesn't matter what you teach them as long as you teach them research skills. So he was finding all the information himself on how to learn. Your children probably do that themselves now too. Whatever they want to learn, they'll find. And we think they might be spending too much time on screen, but yet, wow, we have never had any screen restrictions at all. Never put anything on. I mean, apart from the profanity and those sort of stuff, but we've never put any other restrictions on it at all. And they've managed. We've just spoken about it. But that's probably another conversation on how we actually did that. Connection was part of it. And that's where this conversation does stick to make sense. It's about that connection. So what I was saying, so when they're wanting to become their independent self, they need to detach from you. So like we talk about deschooling. Do you talk about deschooling in the UK? Yeah, so it's detachment. And that's messy. Yeah, it can get tricky and look like nothing's happening, but yet there's lots happening in their little minds or growing minds. So there's this detachment happening, but they're also a little bit nervous about that to see if you're okay with detaching. The minute we give mixed signals that we are judging them, they much prefer to stay attached and be with your love than be their own authentic self. They will mostly choose the attachment with you more than being their authentic self. And this is where it pulls on our heartstrings, because we're letting them go. Not leaving home, letting them go to discover more of themselves. and hold the space for that, no matter how tricky it gets, you know. And so they know they can be their authentic self and not attached, but stay beautifully connected to themselves. They connect to you. And the best thing is that I've had many, many mums come to me and say, I'm losing myself. I've lost myself. I don't know who I am with all this homeschooling. And, you know, that's all I do 24/7. I'm with my kids and I love it. I wouldn't have wanted to send them to school, but I don't know who I am anymore. And in this beautiful time when you let go of your teenagers to become their authentic self, you are connecting more to you as well, because Changemaker Teens is absolutely about being the change that you want to see in your children as well. So finding out who you are. So this is, how am I going for time? Okay, still got some. That's good. So teenager trying to find out who they are. Is everybody with me? Is this making sense? Yeah, like this is yes.
It's great, Heidi. You're doing really well.
Fantastic. Oh, good. So who am I? What do I desire? Finding this out. Then on this side, we've got this control disguised as love, which I hinted towards before. So parents may communicate in a controlling manner. No, that's not what we've done here. You know, for generations, we've done it this way. Got to go to this college, you know, doubt their teens' ability to succeed. They doubt their teens' ability to succeed in their way, in the teens' way. No, look, I'm older, wiser, been there, done that. You don't know, you know, you don't know. Value my experience, child. I'm just trying to save you heartache and hurt, you know, which really means that we're doubting that they know anything about what they really want to do. So we might criticize their way of speaking or expressing themselves. What's that? What are you wearing? You know, really? Blue hair? Yeah, so that's that we want them, and we can even say that with even nicer tone. It doesn't have to be in that judgment tone. We could even say it in a nice tone, but yet it still comes across that we are doubting that they know what they are here for on the planet. So it's holding them, and part of we just finished, these streamers here are part of last week's at the end of the week, we celebrated the 5 essential skills of coaching communication, and holding your teen as able is, and then the willingness to do that. Holding them as able is one of the core values of a changemaker coach and parent. So we definitely learn about that, but definitely you think, well, they can't, especially if they've got ADHD, you know, they need help with their organization. Well, that's 2 different things. Like you can hold them as able to even get that one day. You know, often when we're going through the Changemaker way and then I have a debrief with the mother, the teen is amazing with me, and I report back to the teenager, to the mother, and they go, well, that's really great, but he's not doing that with me. And I said, he does, he's switched on, he's got this. And the mother's almost arguing with me that he or she can't do that. And in my communication, I just hold him as able as he can, and the next minute he's programming things in his phone, setting alarms to have a shower because he hasn't been having a shower. And then I get messages from the mum to say, what did you do? He actually had a shower and nobody asked him. So the only difference, seriously, the only difference that they're paying me for really is to hold them as able, you know, in some context. We do lots more, but, you know, that's one of the big things. Your teens are amazing. I know that already. Your young people are amazing. Versus happy, confident, encouraged, future ready is what we desire for them. Yeah, when it comes down to it, that's what we want for them. We want them to be happy, confident, encouraged, and future ready. So parents use words like be yourself, you know, be authentic, live your passion and purpose, be free, you know, be free to learn, self-directed learning. Absolutely. That's all okay. Go for it. So we're giving them those messages, as well as doubting that how could they possibly know? And it doesn't always come in with what we say, but our body language and How many times do we need to breathe and go, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So how that all comes together, whoops. See, when we're controlling and coming from the doubting them, they get confused. Their self-esteem, they don't know what to believe about themselves. And here they are trying to find out who they are and what they desire, but it's all the same teenager that I was talking about before. He uses the word confuzzled. You know, doesn't he look confuzzled there? And he's alert because he knows if he uses the word confused with me, I just say, I love it when you get confused, because it just means you're going to learn something. So when you get confused, get excited because you're going to learn something. And so now he's using confuzzled. Oh, don't you love him? He's neurodivergent, 14, 15 in a couple of weeks. So I've got ages from 12, 13 on Friday is my youngest, and 22 is the oldest young person I'm coaching together with their mums. I love it. And over here, he's getting it. You know, he feels loved. He feels that he's got permission to discover who he is. So we're seeing the difference. So we'll just break it there for a while, have a breather with the world. The quote here by Albert Einstein: the world we have made as a result of the level of thinking we have done thus far creates problems. And we can't solve these problems. This is the full quote. You might not have seen it in this format before. We cannot solve these problems at the same level of thinking at which we created them. And that's why we say raising changemaker teens is about alternative education. And the alternative education, which we don't consciously always think about, is that it's a communication and movement based on love and not fear. 100% unconditional love. And we think we know what that means, but I don't know. These Facebook pages with teenagers' issues, I think we disguise things as love, but if it was truly unconditional, we'd actually hold that space for them. And the other saying I have is walk where our feet are. And so when there's communication from a teenager coming in, so I worked with a mother recently, and it's not just all about the teenager. It's, you know, your boundaries as well. You know, you've got to, and that by default is being the change. So, because you're teaching them to have boundaries as well on what's okay. So this mother went away and said, you know, when I'm sitting on the couch here, when I'm reading this book, you know, because the teenager, it was a young one, came in and said, oh, Mum, I'm so happy. She just got off a session with me and she was so happy. And she saw her mum having some chocolate. She said, oh, can I have some chocolate too? And she said, Mum said, hey, respect, I'm here. This is my space right now. Instead of, you know, she thought she was doing the right thing because she'd, you know, given her power away and not respected her boundaries. But remember, as I said, as we feed into their character, and as they're growing and finding out who they are, you can feed into their character. So walking where your feet are in that case is not just where you are, it's what's happening around you. And to say to that young girl, to say, oh, you want a chocolate? Sure, love, come here for a sec. And then actually give that chocolate to her, or say, how about we have it, I hear you. I'm just finishing up here with my little booklet here. I'll put this aside, let's have some chocolate together in about 20 minutes or something. Or let's find another treat instead, because I like this, you know, this was my Mother's Day treat or whatever. So, but to acknowledge this girl, because she's in between attachment and connection. And we want our teenagers to keep coming to us, not to be scared going, can I come to Mum now? Are you safe? Are you safe, Mum? Can I come to you? Sometimes we get those questions when we're going through perimenopause, but, you know, but, you know, in general, we want our kids to come to us. And so there are ways of communicating that the mother could have got what she wanted and especially laid tracks for her future time alone and not startled this young girl and had no idea. She just got on from a high. She came off the coaching session, said, oh, Mum, that was so good. And can I have some chocolate? And Mum said, wait, this is my time, you know, instead of really locking some of those things that we'd done together in. So what I'm not saying, loves, is, you know, what you might have done in the past is wrong. Oh my goodness, I've judged my teen. I haven't held the space for them. I've mucked them up, whatever. You know, we didn't know, you know, I just love that. Like we didn't know, she didn't know, but now we're becoming more aware and we know, and we won't always get it right. We won't always get it right. I'll share some of the reasons why we do give this mixed messages too. So I think we've got an idea on the effects of these, the effects of the mixed messages. See all of you, where are you? There we go. Put you up there. So the effects of the mixed messages on teenagers in their identity formation. We've sort of spoken about a few. Confusion. They start thinking, well, what is right or wrong? Can I do that or can't I do that? What's expected? How do I behave in various circumstances? Because the last time I did this, Mum yelled at me. The other time, well, I got a stern look from Dad. But then the other time I did it or my friend did it and they thought it was pretty cool. So this can make it more difficult for teenagers to form a clear and consistent sense of self. Like, is it okay? Is it not okay? They also might show up with inconsistent. So if any of your children have got any of this going on, let's look at the communication. And hopefully we've got some time and you can give me some real cases that we can mull through. I'll see if we can allow 10 minutes or so at the end. So yeah, if you're thinking of something that's happening with your teenager and you're not sure how you can help them, pop that in the chat, or we can even open up, Joe, if that's okay, and we just talk. I love that. So teenagers may demonstrate inconsistent behavior patterns. They try to adjust the mixed messages, you know. They might even swing between compliance and rebellion, and you sort of like catch you by surprise too, and may adopt different behaviors in different contexts. So it's really inconsistent behavior. Remember, they're trying to find out who they are. So notice what. Another coaching tip I like giving is, mums, notice what you're noticing and listen to what you're listening to. And it really increases your sensory acuity to their communication. So am I talking too much coaching language, or is my Aussie accent okay? Yeah, okay. Good. All right. So they might have difficulty trusting authority as well. And so if they're giving mixed messages, they freeze, they could be paralyzed and they don't know how to make a decision. So impaired decision making. So it could affect relationships with, you know, extracurricular teachers, sports coaches as well, and future employers. I've been given the opportunity, and I start next week, in helping young people, much what I do with the Changemaker Way, but with kind of a bit of academic backing and helping with some, you know, literacy and numeracy and some basic skills in order to get a job. And this organisation, training organisation, found me, where they get government funding here to help these young people get a job. And I said to them, wasn't looking at all. It's a funny story how that all started, but I might share that in a blog sometime. But they said, I asked, why would an employer come to this group of kids that might have been struggling and now we're helping them get job ready or future study ready, versus a young person coming straight out of school? And you know what they said? The employers are saying that the kids arrive, the young people arrive with a phone and an attitude. That's how they're arriving, with a phone and an attitude. And when they come here, and this is where I'm hearing more and more that employers are liking home educated youngsters as well, that they don't come there with their phone. They know their boundaries and they don't come there with the same attitude. And that's what we'll teach them. Well, we teach them through the Changemaker Way, as well as this organisation that I'll be working for. You can imagine what I've been doing, trying to work out my schedule, how I was going to do all that. But I think we've worked it out. So there's a risk of developing unhealthy coping mechanisms. So sometimes to manage uncertainty and stress, when there's these mixed messages, I don't know, you know that saying, I don't know if I'm Arthur or Martha. Do you have that saying over there? I don't know if and you might have two different names. I don't know if I'm Arthur or Martha. I'm not sure if I'm coming or going. There we go. You might have that one. I don't know if I'm coming or going. So in attempt to manage that uncertainty and stress, teenagers may resort to an unhealthy coping mechanism such as substance use or self-harm. So again, extreme mixed messages. They may have difficulty in future relationships, and because it's not just the mixed messages, it's what it's done to the attachment versus connection. You know, I had one mum going through these last coaching communication skills, and her son is 27, I think she said, and he's just gone through his second divorce at 27. She's got grandbabies and all of that. And she clearly sees that it was that she did not allow him to do what he wanted to do. She said, I just saw, it was music actually as well. She said, I saw no future in music, but more so, I was scared. I saw the drugs, the sex, the alcohol, all of that in the music scene. So I didn't want my boy to be part of all of that. Now, there's so many ways music can be delivered. You can become a musician. You know, you can do it behind a screen and not be in any of that. But she said, I just think, and of course, remember, if it was between staying attached to the mother or being his authentic self, he decided to stay attached. So when he's growing up, still attached, leaves home because that's kind of the thing you want to do, you find out he's trying to find this being attached to his new wife, and rather than being two whole, complete, connected people. So it's like so unhealthy, because then if she says something, and she might be encouraging him to be all that you can be, live your purpose. With me, you can live your purpose. You know, that last relationship, you couldn't do that, but you can do it with this relationship. You know, I'll do it. And yet if there's any sign from that same person saying that, there's a mixed message, because that's how they might have been taught as well. You see how we can change generations with this? Generations. That we raise whole and complete, authentic people. I may have spoken about it last year. The chapter I wrote in this book, The Women Changing the World, there was an incident I described in there. It happened actually during 2020, you know, that year. But an incident happened with me, and I've never felt so sad and distressed and felt like beaten up on in a public location, and just because I wanted to do something a little bit differently. And I got out to the car and I was quite distraught, and a lady came over and she said, are you all right? And I said, yeah, I think so. And I received the words, ask the question you always ask in your coaching sessions. And I knew straight away it was on the scale of 0 to 10. And I listened more, and I got the question, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much are people in our society allowing each other to be their true selves? What level? We're 10 out of 10, we are allowing each other to be our true selves, and versus 0 out of 10, we don't. And I got 2 out of 10. And I went, oh my gosh. We are this was like a general community question, because I, in that moment, did not feel like I could be my true self. Wasn't being harmful to anyone. You know, I do the ecology check. Is this safe for me? Is this safe for others? Is it safe for the environment? It wasn't hurting anybody, and yet people were judging me. And so I just thought, my goodness, I've got work to do. Mothers, we've got work to do in raising this next generation so that they can be their authentic selves, and we allow each other to be our authentic selves. It starts with parents allowing the kids growing up, and hopefully finding and creating a little family where they're their authentic selves as well. So identity, where am I happening? The identity confusion when we get mixed messages and we find out, well, who am I and what do I believe? Because first mum's telling me I can do anything I want and anything I set my mind to. And, you know, this was my dad, actually. You know, you can do anything you want. Women, girls can do anything. And then on the other hand, it was like, be careful, look out, you know, be cautious, you know, don't, you know, and yet if anyone can do it, if men can get out there and be brave and bold and do all of that. And then he goes, be careful. Mixed messages. So I didn't know whether I had to believe that the world was an unsafe place or a safe place. No wonder I got into health and safety management there for a while. So when my children were born, I said they were just wee babes. I said to mum and dad, when you look after them, please don't tell them to be careful. Look out, you know, look out. Just say be aware. And maybe if they're climbing a wall, say, where's your foot at the moment? Or where's the next step going to go? So that they are aware. We teach awareness with love rather than fear. And be ready to catch them if they fall. Okay, so how do these contradictions, how they can impact their mental health and self-esteem? Anxiety and stress. I think I'll just read the main headings here. Eh? Anxiety and stress, the depression when they get contradictory measurements, you know, who am I? Hopelessness, poor emotional regulations. They struggle to understand, manage their own emotions if there's that inconsistent emotional responses as well. So there are mental health implications. I could talk for days on this topic. Self-esteem, feeling inadequate, doubting themselves. And again, something I might have used in past presentations, there's only 2 words in the English language, at least in Australia and in the UK, we're speaking the same language. As far as I'm aware, there are only 2 words that end in BT, that have BT in it, like this one. So obviously one's doubt. And the other one? Debt. Some of you got it, I'm sure. Debt and doubt. So that's wherever I'm hearing somebody doubt themselves about a certain topic, whether it be finances, whether it be intelligence, whether it be time, whatever they seem to be doubting, there is usually a debt in that area of their life. So if I'm hearing that there's a debt in an area of life, I then link it back to what are they believing, what are they doubting about themselves, or what aren't they believing? So the 2 usually go together. So that's another little coaching thing to listen for. If you're hearing doubt that your teen can't do it, then there might be a debt in something. So you might come in with a question about what do you think they're lacking? So you could go, is there anything you need in order to feel more confident about that and doing that? Is there anything you need? Like, do you need from me? Shall we go to the stationery shop, or do you need me to sit with you whilst you do something, or what do you need? Because there's something that they might feel like they're lacking, and they may not even know what it is until you ask the question. In order to complete this project, use words that they're doing, what you're seeing them doing. Feeling unworthy of love and acceptance. So it can have self-esteem implications when there's this mixed messages and you're going through not allowing them to be their authentic self. And when I say not allowing them, it's being unconscious, loves, being unconscious up until now. So you'll be learning so much already. The conference has just started. A teenager might internalize the inconsistencies and start believing they are the problem. The other thing that can happen, instead of just staying attached and preferring that, most of the time they prefer the attachment with a parent rather than being their authentic self. Some, however, this is when the rebellion might come in. In her way, my sister actually ran away from home. You know, that's it. I don't want anything to do with my parents. I'm getting out of here. Well, she ran to the back door neighbors. She thought, where was she going to go, really? But I remember that. She's 4.5 years older. So she was a teenager. She probably was 14 or 15. And she ran away because there was obviously something happening that she felt that she couldn't be her. Okay, strategies to help parents to communicate more effectively and consistently. There's heaps here. Again, you'll get all of this. Supporting self-exploration. I think we do that already, don't you? You let your teens explore, encourage. Okay, so there's real how-to. We've taught why in this, what it's all about, who. So we talk about the why we need to teach not having mixed messages, having one message of love and encouragement. We've taught why, what, who. So you're going to be the change, and your teenager, when and where, well, as they're going through this growth stage. And then this is the how. Gosh, you've got everything here, all the answers here. The role of experimentation and discovery, supporting, providing guidance and perspective, and leading by example. You're being the change. Okay, so help navigate self-doubt. We've spoken about that. Overcome the challenges. Listening. Encourage self-reflection. In our community, in the Mothers Raising Changemakers, some of you are in there already, I think. We have a journal coaching session. Got one lady from the UK showing up regularly. So she comes at the end of her day, and it's 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time in the morning, 7:30 a.m. We have 3 mornings a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, our time. So obviously that's the night before. We do some journaling together. So the community comes together and we allow the time to journal. I call them coaching and journaling sessions. I did give a little coaching tip on something, about 30 minutes. And then we listen to Canon and D. I put that on my phone. We listen to a bit of music and we all write together. So encouraging self-reflection. There's no excuse. You can start something like that over there yourselves if you're not already doing it. So the power of mindset and self to understand who you are, the concept. If you think you can, you think you're pretty right. Do I need to get going? Yep, we haven't got long. All right. Reinforcing positive self-talk. When you hear your teen, when you hear yourself, ladies, say something. When you're noticing what you're noticing and listening to what you're listening to, and you hear something going on that's not so positive in your own head, then wow, I've used with my boys before and said, talk to somebody about somebody I love, or to somebody I love like that. So I love you. Don't talk to somebody I love like that. And they go, oh, it just breaks their state, or if well, it's been rare that if they've said something to me, I've never had, with some, and you probably haven't either. I think it might be rare for home educators to get the I hate you. You see that on sites, I hate you. Well, don't talk to somebody I love about like that, So anyway, there's some other strategies for that question as well, but it rarely comes up in my circles.
Heidi,
yes, we've got 5 minutes.
I'm just interjecting in case you wanted to make time for questions.
I do. So positive self-talk, celebrating achievements. We've got to celebrate, and providing resources. Why parents unintentionally send mixed messages? There's lots. Perimenopause should be on the list, hey? I'm out the other side, but that was interesting. All right, so trying to be both a friend and a parent. Unresolved issues yourself. All of those hows, self-reflection will help you to be the change. All right, so getting educated, that's the pathway. Do you want to leave that up while we have questions, or will we take that down? Because to find more about the pathway to educate yourself on better communication, it'll be up tomorrow, the exhibitor stand. This same picture is there as well, and ways to contact me. All right, we'll end. So you found Raising Changemaker Teams there. So you are here. And there's lots that I can support you with, both free and paid programs. Anyway, so let's stop sharing, shall I? Let me get down here and stop.
Heidi, that was a phenomenal talk, and I've been scribbling away, and I think all of us are just sitting here in agreement with everything you're saying. It's been wonderful. Thank you. I don't know if anyone has any burning questions whilst we have Heidi with us. If you want to either post them in the chat or just turn on your mic and speak up.
Yes, please. Speak up. Live coaching here. We can go fast if you're willing.
Heidi, I definitely have a question in terms of
Yes.
clocking in, and obviously you're in Australia, we're in the UK, but you obviously managed to make time differences work in terms of joining a course or stepping in with you.
Absolutely. So some of it is recorded and the other times we make suitable for wherever the audience is, and one-on-ones. I've coached mums, usually actually around the anywhere between 6:30 and 9 my time, so around this time. We definitely always make it work. I just saw here is 10 too young to start this. Depends on your 10-year-old. We use a profiling tool if it's suitable, and why I'm using that as a guide is that's from age 9 we can use that. So I said my youngest that I'm coaching at the moment is 10, but I've just been accepted as an expert on the tween teen connection site as well. And so a lot more tween parents are contacting me. So it's probably a conversation, depends on your 10-year-old.
Any other questions? Heidi, you mentioned a book as you were talking, Women Who Changed the World, which I know you are in as a chapter. Oh, I think Heidi's frozen. Oh, she's back. You mentioned the book, Heidi, Women Who Changed the World. Will that be on as a link on your exhibitor page? Oh, we can't hear you. Heidi, you're on mute at the moment. We can't hear you.
Well, that's a way to shut me up, isn't it? That's the other one I'm with as well. I haven't put the links in there yet, but where Matthew, my son, my 19-year-old, helps me with all the graphics, and we're busy setting up the exhibitors page at the moment, so we can put something on there for sure.
Fantastic.
I think they are from Amazon as well. Yeah. So, now where's the chat again? Was there any? Oh, I lost the chat because I lost you. I don't know what happened there. So I can't see the chat anymore. It's been.
I didn't see any questions. I think we caught them as they came in. So I am mindful of time, Heidi. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to give a few more seconds. Any more questions?
Anything? Anybody think about? Oh, I see my son or daughter doing that. Claire.
I haven't got a question specifically, but a lot of what you said resonates with very much where I'm at the moment. I've got a nearly 15-year-old and a nearly 13-year-old, and definitely a lot of what you said is the fears that come up, and I think the communication is really good, but it's I'll say something and I'm very aware of my body language on my face is saying something very different. So I think that's definitely something I need to practice. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. You've got a beautiful, gentle heart. And the best thing I think is that listen to what you're listening to, notice what you're noticing, and be gentle with yourself too. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That was such an empowering part of your talk for us as mothers to really step into that and to know who we are in this journey. And I know that's something obviously Juliet talks so powerfully about as well. And I know that Julia will be talking about that in the keynote on Saturday. So we'll see this theme interwoven throughout the conference. And to thank you, Heidi, I think it'd be good for us to end there. Thank you so much for your time. As Heidi said, she's around all conference on and off within the time frames, and I'm sure we'll be happy to take questions. I know she's also very busy on LinkedIn if anybody wants to reach out to her there, or Facebook, and track with some of what she's doing. But for now, Heidi, thank you. If you can send your slides to the Learn Free team, they can put them up onto the website for you, and then everybody can access them. And that will be helpful for us as well, I know, as participants, and for other people who are going to be listening afterwards. So thank you so much. I know we've all benefited from today. and
Well,
value the wisdom you've shared. So we're
thank
grateful.
you. Hopefully a few truth bombs, hey? All right. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.